What are some deep, thought-provoking questions to ask someone to know them better? What do you love most about yourself? I love getting asked this question. It really makes you think about how you view yourself. At the end of Pete Holmes' podcast You Made It Weird, he always asks, what's the hardest you've laughed? Doesn't have to be the literal hardest, but whatever pops in their head first. I find that question always gets a good conversation going. Usually shows who's important to them, what's important, etc. A question a guy asked me during the first few days of college. Him. Asterisk, do you have a girlfriend? Asterisk. Op. Asterisk, nope. Asterisk. Him. Asterisk, you don't have one or you don't want one. Asterisk. The second question sent me into deep introspection. But me and the guy became lifelong friends. Edit. Clarification. We both are guys in, for the lack of a better phrase. No homo. But it's nice to know this for future reference. What do you think happens after we die? Don't ask this on first date though, they may think you want to murder theme is here. Which parallel universe versions of yourself would you want to meet and why? What are your thoughts on life on other planets? Quote, usually warrants a seriously? Face and ego. No, really. And most people will answer then segue into something along those lines that they're interested in. And we're discussing all kinds of things. Open-ended topics are great to get to know people. A few thought-provoking questions that I would ask someone. What are you looking forward to this week? Should everyone on the planet be striving toward a common goal? If so, what would that be? If you could teach the entire world just one concept, what would it be? What concept do you think could have the most significant positive impact on humanity? What level of toastiness do you like your toast? Depends on why I'm trying to get to know them in the first place. Once when my roommate and I were searching for a third roommate for our new apartment, the first question we asked applicants was, who's your favorite Pokemon? Quote, it caught a lot of people off guard and the answer doesn't really matter that much. But the applicants' reaction to the question helped us filter through which ones had generally similar interests to us. Why is your favorite book, movie, game your favorite? Quote, everybody's got a favorite, blank, but asking them what they love about it is a great way to learn more about their interests and to learn more about them as a person. What is your mother's maiden name? What's the name of the street you grew up on? What was your first pet's name? What are the 3 digits on the back of your debit card? What is your idea of happiness? Seems to be pretty interesting. Is our AskReddit the place to ask and answer thought-provoking questions? Is a hot dog a sandwich? This isn't so much a question, but a little game you can play that can help break the ice and let you know how well you mesh together. If you're at a place like a bar or restaurant, look around the room and try to come up with backstories for other people there. It can be a lot of fun and takes some of the pressure off, while getting you two talking to each other and getting a feel for each other's sense of humor, personality. It can tell you a lot about a person. For example, I played this while out on a date with this girl and she managed to take all the fun out the game by being ridiculously cruel in all her assumptions for no real reason at all. It felt like she was projecting issues she had onto these people. Like one guy was sitting at the bar alone. Could have been waiting for someone. You never know. But because he was alone, he was a fucking loser with no friends that hates his life. Completely killed the mood, but at least gave me a heads up as to what type of person she was. Y'all like jazz? What do you hate? Tells a lot about the person you're talking. You like Huey Lewis and the News? Do you waterfold? Google 36 questions to fall in love. Also works for provoking deep conversations. Or watch The Skin Deep on YouTube. What do moths pee? What's the most difficult decision you've had to make to see your dreams come true? Quote. Tits or ass? Why is you? Quote. Ask someone whether or not they think free will exists. Follow up with a why or why not. Usually leads to a pretty interesting conversation. If you think out loud, is it really thinking? Or are you just talking to yourself? What are you thinking right now? Quote. I remember my dad used to ask this to me when I was a kid. I used to daydream in the car when he'd drive all around Europe. I was about 6 years old and really, those were the best of times. It's really nice to use when you have nothing else to say, and it just gives a nice glimpse into what the other person really is thinking. 1. How many walkers have you killed? 2. How many people have you killed? 3. Why? If the universe is expanding, what is it expanding into? What is your credit score? Do you like pickles on a burger? Do you believe in Sasquatch? If you could spend 24 hours inside the world of any painting, which one do you choose and why? What's the first thing you think of when you wake up most days? How do you handle your anger? How long do you think you'll live? Did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? Sup? One time I was part of a committee interviewing kids to be camp counselors, and I asked one kid, if you could pull out a string of hankies from your ear, what color would they be? Quote. That kid spent a whole 10 minutes describing each individual ear hanky. Serious. Bring up either your own past or someone else's past is guaranteed to strike a deep conversation about past versus present versus future and how they grow from what they experience. Otherwise, why does the alphabet need to be in a certain order? There's a Spanish TV talking show called La Resistencia, where they do a lot of silly things. And one of them is asking the guest, what's your favorite mountain? As the TV host likes rock climbing. This shocks the guest, so he ends up talking about something about himself. Pretty funny to see the reactions. If you could kill one person with no social, legal, moral, or religious repercussions, who would it be and why? Person has to be currently alive, e.g. not Hitler. What do you do when you're home alone? Because in that way you would discover their real personality. Maybe because they are shy at school, work, and when you're alone you do whatever the hell you want. Reading this thread made me realize I have no soul and isn't interested in socializing with people. Because most of these questions looks very natural and I, for the life of me, have never thought about it before. SMH. Instead of, how are you? Quote. Ask. 1. What is something interesting that happened today? 2. Have there been any changes in how you're feeling? 3. What improved for you today? 4. Is there anything you want to talk about from your day? 5. What has been hardest for you this week? 6. What made you smile today? 7. What would you like to be different tomorrow? 8. What do you wish you did more of today? 9. When did you feel appreciated, understood, loved today? What's your definition of hell? How can mirrors be real if our eyes aren't real? Regular or chicken salt? Which chipmunk getting the best head? Did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? Do you fuck with the war? What is your ex's version of that breakup? People are surprisingly and unintentionally honest. I've said to people, give me 3 good reasons. It doesn't matter what they are good reasons for. Just 3 reasons you would consider good. It works as a good conversation starter. Example. One friend replied 1. I like the color 2. I've never tried it before. 3. I can reach it. When a psychiatrist asked me in first session was, how did you meet your best friend? This was around 40 years ago. And my answer was, she was taking off her clothes at a party. Oh, So you thought she'd be fun to hang around with. TBH. That was not what was going through my mind at the time. But I really liked the doctor's response and assumption. And it really helped me feel comfortable and that she would not be judgmental. If you are a virgin, and your first time is anal with someone who likes to talk out of their ass, is that technically a blowjob, and are you still a virgin? What was your relationship like with your mother, father growing up? You wanna know somebody? Ask about their parents. You'll learn why they behave like they do, and it's good to see if there is any drama to know ahead of time. Super late to this bit. Oh well. After getting to know someone a little and we're kind of past all the general small talk, weather, family, light interests, etc., and I see the conversation dying down a little, I like asking how the other person feels about silence in conversation. Most people are a little taken aback, but it's nice to kind of set up how silence is between the two of you. Some people don't like it, and some people are very comfortable with it. Plus, it minimizes the amount of, oh boy, it's sorta quiet, should I say something? Thoughts that may arise later if you know what they're comfortable with. It can also be sort of telling of their approach to life, relationships, and their personality as well. There are like 30 questions that if asked and answered truthfully to a man and woman, they make each other fall in love. One question I remember was, your house was burning and you can save only one object from it. What do you save? Single quote. Questions like these are really helpful to find out what the other person values in a fun way. Wanna do some cocaine? If they say no, then you know they don't do cocaine. Probably have somewhere to be tomorrow morning, like a job or something. If they say yes, settle in for their whole story. One question I like to ask people is, if you had all the resources, time and land available to build whatever you want, a house, a park, a monument, what would you build? Quote, I'm no architect nor PhD psychologist, and I know it kind of sounds like an interview question, but I believe it can trigger a very interesting discussion with that person. And you can keep asking about the reasons and details afterwards. That question is something I came up while I was dating my last partner. When I asked her that question, she started talking about how she would imagined her dream house, full of large windows and mosaics, with a colorful garden. And so, from there, it turned into a surprisingly long and pleasant conversation. What would you do if you were a caterpillar and you went for a camp out with all your mates? Fell asleep in your cocoon and everyone woke up as a butterfly and you were a ** seeking moth?